when the divine feminine partner was just Jezebel in robes. Goddess talk with the draining touch from a false twin flame. She arrived bearing crystals and prophecies, draped in flowing fabrics that whispered of mystery with every movement. Her vocabulary was a constellation of cosmic terms, divine timing, karmic connection, sacred union, words that painted your ordinary meeting as predestined alchemy. "I've been waiting lifetimes for you," she declared, eyes holding yours with an intensity that felt both ancient and disarmingly intimate. "We have work to do together." And didn't that explanation make perfect sense of the magnetic pull you felt? The way your body seemed to recognize hers before your mind could catch up. The unlikely synchronicities that led to your paths crossing, the seduction of sacred language. She spoke of the divine feminine with such conviction, positioning herself as its embodiment while subtly casting you as the wounded masculine in need of her healing. Her spirituality was performative poetry, each gesture deliberately enchanting. How she closed her eyes when speaking of visions she'd received about your connexio. The way she placed her hand over her heart when channeling messages from the other side. Those knowing smiles when you shared something personal, as if your revelation was merely confirmation of what Spirit had already told her. You mistook her familiarity for recognition, her intensity for depth, her script for spontaneous truth. Red flags disguised as spiritual awakening. The warnings were there, cloaked in spiritual bypass and esoteric justification. She had an explanation for everything, convenient cosmic architecture that always positioned her as enlightened and you as the student. Her downloads from source consistently served her interests and absolved her of accountability. The shadow work she prescribed for you addressed your flaws while her own patterns remained conveniently classified as her medicine. Her past relationships were cataloged as spiritual assignments she completed, each former partner reduced to a karmic lesson she transcended. When conflicts arose, they were never simple human friction, always tests from the universe or energy blockages you needed to clear. Your valid concerns became evidence of your lower vibration or resistance to ascension. The energy vampire beneath the goddess gaze. What you thought was divine feminine wisdom was actually Jezebel in ceremonial robes, the ancient archetype of manipulation disguised as mystery, extraction masked as exchange. While she spoke of honoring your masculine essence, she systematically undermined your strength. While preaching abundance, she depleted your resources. While celebrating authenticity, she punished your truth whenever it contradicted her narrative. The twin flame language created the perfect cover for trauma bonding. The spiritual terminology offered ready-made justifications for toxic patterns. Her emotional volatility became the divine feminine in her full expression. Her disappearances were necessary energetic resets. Her consistent taking without reciprocity was teaching you divine masculine provision. Her jealousy and control were repackaged as protecting the sacred container of your union. The spiritual gaslighting. When you finally began questioning the dynamic, her defense was masterfully crafted from the very spiritual concepts that once captivated you. You're just not vibrationally ready for this connection. Your ego is fighting the ascension process. If you were truly awakened, you'd understand why this is happening. The divine masculine always struggles with surrender. Each accusation designed to make you doubt not just your perception, but your spiritual evolution itself. The ultimate manipulation, convincing you that recognizing her deception was actually your spiritual failure. The awakening to truth. Real awakening came not through her teachings but through their painful unraveling when you finally acknowledged that authentic divine feminine energy creates space rather than demands surrender. True spiritual connection increases your sovereignty rather than diminishes it. Genuine twin flames enhance your energy rather than deplete it. Actual spiritual growth strengthens your discernment rather than requires its abandonment. The hardest truth to accept, what felt like spiritual recognition was actually skilled cold reading and emotional manipulation. Her intuitive gifts were simply an experienced predator's ability to identify and exploit your wounds, needs, and spiritual aspirations. Reclaiming your spiritual discernment. Healing begins with radical honesty. She was never your twin flame, mirror soul, or divine counterpart. She was someone who weaponized spiritual concepts to bypass normal relationship development and extract energy, attention, and resources. Reclaiming your spiritual discernment. Healing begins with radical honesty. She was never your twin flame, mirror soul, or divine counterpart. She was someone who weaponized spiritual concepts to bypass normal relationship development and extract energy, attention, and resources. This doesn't mean all spiritual connection is false. Rather, it means authentic spirituality never requires abandoning critical thinking, accepting behavior that feels misaligned with your values, chronic energetic depletion or emotional confusion, surrendering your autonomy to another's higher interpretation. True divine partnership, whether with the feminine or masculine, empowers both individuals. It clarifies rather than confuses. It energizes rather than exhausts. It honors boundaries rather than dissolves them in the name of oneness. The wisdom in the wound. The deepest teaching wasn't delivered through her spiritual platitudes but through the painful awakening from them. Now you understand why discernment is itself a spiritual practice. Why honoring your intuition, especially when it contradicts an appealing spiritual narrative, is sacred work. You've learned to recognize the difference between genuine light and false illumination, between the priestess and the performer, between connection that elevates and entanglement that depletes. The experience wasn't karmic punishment but protected wisdom, teaching you to recognize authentic spiritual connection by first experiencing its counterfeit. The truly divine feminine doesn't need flowing robes or crystal adornments. She doesn't demand recognition or require surrender. She doesn't drain but sustains, doesn't confuse but clarifies, doesn't diminish but expands. And now, with your spiritual discernment reclaimed and refined through fire, you'll never again mistake Jezebel for the goddess she pretends to be.